Good evening, YouTube, as well. We're very sorry about the lack of videos recently. We have been busy with the STCW Sea Survival course, and we've edited it all together, and we've promised James, the guy, the instructor who works there, we promised him we'd show it him first before we made it public. And he went, "Oh yeah, thanks very much. Yeah, that's great." So we've sent him a link. And he hasn't got back to us yet.
It is the weekend.
It is the weekend.
But if we get near 2024 and he still hasn't replied, it's going live anyway.
If he hasn't replied by Monday, I'm banging it up anyway. I've had to do a flight sim.
There's nothing in my version that I think they'll mind. There might be stuff in your version.
We've got two separate versions because I edited my version and then Fiona didn't like it. She edited her version. So it's the same thing, but
I thought
slightly
yours was
different.
Quite long and too serious, and I wanted to put some more humour in it.
More humour in it. Well, there you go. What's why she's got more subs than me anyway, so she's obviously.
I found my piece of paper.
She found it
from notes earlier.
But speaking of STCWs and sea survival and all that, there's a tugboat sank in just off Scotland, Greenock, and they've recovered 2 bodies.
Oh God!
From the sea, so it is something that is. Mind you, the weather's nasty in Scotland.
Yeah, I'm really impressed with that guy on the course, Bart, being an RNLI in those seas. Especially in the Minch, which is the bit between the islands and the mainland. Which often is the case, isn't it? It's the bit between the island and the
bit between Harris and Skye, isn't it? There's like 3 islands. That's the Minch, isn't it? Anyway, right.
On my notes, I'd put Megan faints a lot.
Megan faints a lot.
She does, doesn't she? Like when I was having a miscarriage and I collapsed on the floor. And Harry apparently in Spare, I was reading about this in an article, said, "Oh, I phoned her up before we were engaged and she was surrounded by paps and she collapsed on the floor. She fainted." And
Look at me.
When she flew back from England to Canada, she said, "I collapsed into the security guard's arms." She collapses a lot, doesn't she? I've got to say, maybe she has fainting spells. Maybe she's got low blood pressure or something. I don't think I've ever collapsed from shock. And I mean, I've had some shocks like, "Hello, this is Interpol. We've come to arrest you and take you to a foreign prison," which may or may not be like Midnight Express. And I went, "Oh, God, I didn't collapse. Oh, my God, I'm collapsing." God, the woman needs to pull herself together if a word of it is to be believed. And I think she's making it up. I think she puts all that on, personally.
She hasn't said anything recently, I see, since South Park. Not that I know of.
She hasn't said anything since Spare.
I was watching Putin the other day. Did you watch Putin? He was having a big powwow in.
No, I don't really watch him much.
In Moscow. No, it was long and boring. I gave up on it halfway through. But he said about the people in the West. He said they're all paedophiles.
That was rude.
And they're into transgender, and they've got the Anglican Church has got a gender neutral God.
No comment. No comment.
The British government years ago, I told you they classified people. You look, if you fill in a form, a government form, it said sex, male, female, other. Well, there's the answer to the problem, isn't it? It's not a problem.
What the other was.
I wondered what I know now what other is. But so if you've got issues with you're a man and you want to be a woman, or vice versa. You just tick the other box, and that's it, isn't it? You are other. Ding. Simple then, isn't it? Then you've got men, women, and other. And other covers everything, doesn't it? Moving on.
I'm not sure if we're being led up the garden path, actually, with a lot of these transgender issues. I mean, are they just a few minority who are TikTokers or influencers?
They're all complicated and different. I mean, it's not a simple case of...
I don't really understand.
Hey, you want to be a lady. It's because a lot of people just totally unconvincing transvestites are never going to... And there's more to it than that.
I just don't see the need for anybody to advertise their sexuality or, that sort of personal business.
They should just tick other, shouldn't they? They should just be in the other category. That's simple, isn't it? As much as I could pretend...
Graham's just fixing world problems.
I've fixed it. As much as I could pretend to be a woman, right, I can never have babies.
World hunger's coming next.
World hunger's coming next. And we've still got the Ukraine. That's still kicking off.
I don't care. I'm sorry, I don't care about that. I've from the beginning, had my own thoughts on
I
it.
was going to cut my wrists and send the blood to
Don't
Ukraine.
say that. You can't say things like that. You'll get your channel taken down,
Oh.
idiot.
Oh.
You will.
Did you know there are units, this is what disturbs me, and this is true, there are units in the Ukrainian army that wear Nazi insignia on their uniforms. Not just Nazis, because we're not talking about a swastika. I mean, if someone came up to you in the street dressed as a Nazi, waving a pot, giving you money, and the pot was red with a swastika on it, so we're raising money for the Nazi party, you'd go, well, most people, I don't know about you, but I would go, no thank you, and I might even be rude, but I wouldn't give him any money, right? But you see, everyone associates the swastika with the Nazis, which it was, but that swastika was a political symbol that covered everything. Everybody, it was even on the money, you know, you name it. You were alive and you're living in Germany at that time. Everything was covered in swastikas, wasn't it? But you fanatical Nazis, you fanatics, they had different symbols, which are the symbols of the SS, which was like the political elite, fascist, sort of really horrible. And they were the ones who committed all the atrocities during the, well, most of the atrocities during the war was down to the SS. And the Ukrainians, this Azov Battalion, these people are displaying SS insignia. And so that's very worrying. I'd like to know what's going on there. Anyway, moving on.
I noticed a couple of things about Ukraine.
What?
When Rishi Sunak was with President Zelensky and they were handing out medals or something to these soldiers. Firstly, I was horrified at how the soldiers were standing, these Ukrainian soldiers. They looked like gangsters. None of them were standing up straight. A lot of them were like arms folded. They were just shy of chewing gum. And I thought, what kind of soldiers are these people? Secondly, when they went up and they would shake hands with Zelensky, look him dead in the eye, smile at him, not one of them would look at Rishi Sunak. Not one of them. You go and dig out that news reel, and I found that very racist. And some of them didn't even want to shake his hand or touch his skin, and I thought, I don't like the look of this. Why is everybody kissing Zelensky's butt? I'm sorry, there you go, I've said it. One of the YouTubers I follow, Coach Red Pill.
Yeah, he's good.
Gonzalo Lira, he was grabbed by Zelensky's men because he lives in Ukraine, and he was on YouTube telling us all about what was really going on. He got grabbed, shook about and threatened, and they took control of all his social media. I don't think Zelensky's a lovely, cuddly, nice man. I think
they didn't bump him off. I fully expected them to shoot him.
Yeah, we all thought he was
dead. To be fair to
for a
Zelensky,
while.
they didn't bump him off. But he is a big YouTuber.
I'm sorry, I'm just not.
150,000.
I'm not happy cozying up to people like Zelensky.
I have got a link.
etc.
I'm going to put a link onto a YouTuber called Mark Felton, and he's got millions of followers. And he did a video on the Azov Battalion with the SS symbols and things. So I'll put that in the description below in case you're interested.
But I mean, the only reason that I feel slightly I can't say anything against it is because the law of social media says so, you know. Oh, yeah. Get lost, social media, all this virtue signalling. I bet a lot of people don't even know where the Ukraine is.
Probably.
Anyway, those were the two things I noticed, that Zelensky's soldiers were very disrespectful towards our Prime Minister. Whether you're Labour, Liberal, whatever you are, he is our Prime Minister. And even if it had been Boris Johnson, I thought that was really rude.
I would
really
have
rude.
thought the United Nations would have stepped in by now.
To do what?
Peacekeeping, that's what they're there for.
What, and start a nuclear war with Putin?
No.
That's how Putin would see it.
But they should, I mean, look at North and South Korea when the Korean War
Maybe the United Nations have one or two reservations about President Zelensky.
Well,
maybe they don't think he's that nice.
The whole Korean War was the United Nations peacekeeping force. If you look at when the British and the French invaded Suez, right? Well, we're going to get the Suez Canal. So they went in and took the Suez Canal. Egyptians kicked off to the UN. UN turned round to Britain and France and said, you have to get out. You've invaded someone's sovereign country. And the British and the French were looking at each other thinking, well, we've got to get out, haven't we? Because if we don't, we'll be forced out by the UN. But apparently Russia's got a veto. Now, what's the point?
I'd like to know why.
What's the point of having a veto? If you've got a veto, that means you can invade the world.
Why is it okay for America back in I think it was the 1950s, to kick off about Russia having missiles on Cuba, which is nowhere near as near to America as it is for Putin to say, I don't want that shit in my backyard on Ukraine. What? Sorry, what's the difference? We got good for the goose and not for the gander. I don't even get me started on it, Graham. It's starting to make me angry, so I think I'm going to go for a cigarette in the garden.
Oh no, because
that's why I don't talk about Ukraine, because
you're going to talk about your 15...
And I wear this, which I'm sure is heavily offensive to a lot of Zelensky's men. I'm sorry, no, I'm not going along with it. All right, I'm not saying he's a bastard, but we're not even allowed to question this man. We're not even allowed to say,
just give him your
is
wages,
he a little
give
dodgy?
him your salary.
You've got the UK Prime Minister, we've got the President of America. Everybody says, all hail Zelensky. Well, excuse me, I'm going to be the lone wolf going, no.
You were going to, just changing the subject. Okay, that's enough of the Ukraine. 15-minute cities, what's that all about?
I know, thank you. One of you on my channel commented, more than one of you, 15-minute cities. What the hell? Apparently Oxfordshire there's an experiment the council are putting through. It's where they divide the area up into 6 zones. It's supposedly to save the environment, right? And the theory is that everybody should be able to get their hands on everything within 15-minute walk of where they live, including where they work, presumably. Hello, council members, do you understand how this works? And they'll be allowed to cross zones up to 100 times a year. But if they cross zones more often than that, they'll get a fine, and they're going to do it with massive CCTV.
If you go too far down the road in your car and you've done it
more
than 100 times.
This is like house arrest.
Like going to work. You know, if you work on the other side of the city, you've got to drive through all these zones to get to work. So you're going to drive through the zones twice.
Even if it's not to commute for work.
So 50 days later, you've run out of options, haven't you? And you're going to get fined.
Well, since when do councils or government have the right to tell people in the United Kingdom they can't go out for the day because they've run out of their privileges to visit another zone? What the hell is going on, everybody? Really, I think we need to wake up.
Cashless society.
And I only just found out about this today thanks to one of you guys, more than one of you guys telling me about it, and other things, which I find horrific. And then I had someone on my last video saying, oh, you're conspiracy theorist, you need to shut up. Presumably it's because I put WEF in the tags, and maybe one of the WEF supporters or bots found my video and went, oh, you better stop talking, we don't want people talking about it. Why is none of this on the news? Why is none of this on Sly News, as Dan Wootton calls it? Why Sly News? Why are you not reporting? I haven't seen anything about this 15-minute cities. What the hell is going on?
There's big protests kicking off in Oxford.
Well,
so the police shoving people around, shoving people.
I thought they were very peaceful.
And they were very organised and
very
peaceful
diverse
demonstration.
people.
Obviously intelligent people.
I'm behind them all the way. Everybody's got to resist
cops
this.
Blocking them so you can't walk down this street, hey? Pushing and shoving people. I thought, ooh, it's more of us than there is of you.
They can only get away with it with our compliance. As soon as we start questioning it or saying, I'm not sure about this, I don't want this, that lockdown, I'll tell you what happened here in Spain. We had a 14-week serious, strict lockdown at threat of gunpoint. And they were saying at one point, you're only allowed so many metres from your house if you're a dog walker, and some people got fined for being 110 metres instead of just 100 metres. Anyway, every 2 weeks, our Prime Minister, Pedro Sanchez, kept saying, oh, I'm just going to do one more extension, I won't do it again. And then 2 weeks later, he said, I'm just doing one more extension. Well, the Spanish, they went mental. They all came out in their houses and they were banging pots together in all the major cities, screaming their heads off. And it's quite an unruly country, actually, when it gets to that stage.
British don't do that.
Pedro backed off and he went, I promise I'll never do another lockdown. And he let us all out. And that was that. And they never did another lockdown.
He should, banging pots and pans together and shouting.
Yeah, it was because we all had to clap for the health workers, didn't we? And I used to hide. But we'd be sitting on the roof having a vino, and I would hide when 7:30 came because I hated doing it. And it went from clapping the health workers to bang, 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 enough with the lockdown. And there was a big kick-off. But I was really impressed with the protesters at Oxfordshire. They were just sort of really peaceful, standing around. They were very diverse, young, old. Some people with dreadlocks, sort of hippies. Some business suits, business owners. They were all different people. Just together, holding up fabulous signs like bollocks to this.
I got angry when I saw the cops on horses.
Oh, you did?
You know, with the helmets on. I've seen
I'm
there's
definitely
4
going
of them
for a
in a
cigarette.
row.
If you're going to get angry,
And,
never mind me.
No, I've seen them years ago at Leeds United football match. And the crowd
Don't
was
say
all
what
there.
you're going to say about the horses.
No, I'm
because
not.
I love
I'm not.
horses.
But
Just don't.
I saw them riding into the crowd with big helmets on, and the sticks must have been this long. Must have been like a metre long. And they were just riding the horses in and just whacking people with these sticks like a medieval knight. And I thought, that hit my rage vein. Anyway, I'm moving on. They've got to be very careful, the police, because they've got to keep the peace. They shouldn't
It's
provoke.
not really their fault, is it?
No,
The
they're just
politicians
following
make the
orders.
laws,
They're following
and
orders.
they say to the
Yeah.
police, go enforce those laws.
Following orders.
I can't believe I'm sticking up for the old bill again. It's getting to be a bad habit.
And there's been an earthquake in Wales. Wales has been shaken. I don't think anything fell down though. And that's about it really. That was all I wanted to say. But yeah, getting back to the STCW Sea Survival course, that will be released any moment as soon as we get the thumbs up from young James there. Thanks for watching.